I feel like I just think about it all the time, programming in some aspect, whether it's the gym programming for the following week, whether it's a competition that's coming up, whether it's a competition I just reviewed, or like one that's coming up like Rogue, and I'm thinking about what they might do. I feel like I'm thinking about it constantly, but I don't think there's a better time, like creatively, for me to get the most out of kind of like the juices flowing than there is like the month before Crucible and the month after. So that 2 to 3 month period is like, okay, I did this year. I need to make sure I do this next year. Okay, I did this year, but I didn't do it really the way I wanted to, so I'm going to do it this way next year. It keeps me from just like changing my mind in 6 months when I know how I feel right after this year, and I know what didn't really get tested and what I want to test. And this is the time where it's like legit. It's not like in 6 months I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know. I'll talk myself out of it. I'm like, no, now is the time.
The Fitness Movement is brought to you by Zor Fitness. We offer coaching and individualized program design, as well as educational content for coaches and athletes. It's all one place, zorfitness.com. Like it works for like pre-recorded shows, because I don't think Savon does any of that.
No, I think it took him maybe a year or two for Sousa to convince him that he needs to do everything live. And then when he started doing everything live, now I don't think he's ever like pre-recorded.
Yeah.
Since. So, which, over the years, however you look at it, could be detrimental or could be really smart. So depending on what the topic is and what ends up coming out of his or Taylor's,
I think generally
or
for him
whoever's mouth.
Yeah. Well, sweet, dude. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, man. I'm first of 3 today, so I've had.
Oh, nice.
I've had a week to kind of let my vocal cords and my mind relax a little bit. Now I'm just irritated about things that didn't go the way that I wanted them to go. So yeah, it's a good day to get on and rant about it, I guess.
Anything that's particularly bothering you?
No, I mean, I say that a little bit tongue in cheek. Really, really small things.
Yeah.
From a programming standpoint,
Bother you, but maybe not other people as much.
Right. From a programming standpoint, it was a little bit frustrating on event 1 that more people didn't have the muscular stamina to express power, because really the reason why I made that intervals was because I knew, or at least I thought, that more of the field would be able to put out really consistent power and like move through it pretty fast. But what ended up happening was, especially on the female side, by round 3, it was more just like, how can I hold on muscularly? And not very many of the women, and then only maybe a handful or 2 of the men could actually like make it a fitness workout and not just my grip's blowing up, my triceps are blowing up, my shoulders are blowing up, whatever. So that part of it, because, I didn't have anything really, really short. And when I looked at everything, I was like, well, there are a few opportunities for a sub-5 workout, but none of these are truly like a power output test. And so I was kind of hopeful that more people in event 1. Now, if you had asked me how many people will go sub-7, I would have said, I'll bet the amount of money that I gave away that no one's going to do that. and then Colton and Taylor both did, which was really, really impressive to see in person, but also a little bit like, maybe with P-Score, that's what everyone wants. You want the huge spreads because it makes it more interesting, and you get to really show like people who finish above the halfway like really did earn those points, and then the people who really got smacked like kind of earned to get smacked. So it was interesting in that standpoint, but also too, after that happened, I was thinking to myself, okay, one of the drawbacks to the way that I programmed the competition was putting the heavy workout as also the long workout is going to really, really expose lack of fitness and not really allow people to showcase strength. But I guess it was just kind of something I had to decide early on that was more important.
Yeah, but I guess with P-score, like you need to, like, for example, if you had like a 40-minute erg-based workout that was like not for calories, like everybody's P-score would just be so tight.
Right.
Like there wouldn't be much separation on the leaderboard.
Sure.
It's almost like even in like a long workout, you want to make it where it maybe encourages you to make it have more separation.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely workout styles and formats that do not work with P-score. And I've kind of learned those over the past couple of years. I think the first time we used it was the year that Luke won. So that would have been, let's see, Jason 21, Taylor 20. No, Jason 20, Taylor 21, Luke 22, Austin 23. So that would have been, this would be the third year, I guess, we've used P-score. Early on, I programmed some that because of like the interval base or for other reasons, it really didn't work as well. Or because I didn't think about, you don't have to program tie breaks, but you need to make sure that for the most part, a rep is equal to a rep of something else. So like, for instance, I was a little bit worried that more people would get capped during the runs, and the runs were only one rep per lap. But like if you're 120 meters ahead of me, you should get more points than I do. But there's no really way to score that. Well, luckily, though, I pushed back the flow to where it was all really close, and that was probably the best decision I made of the weekend. And I really only made it logistically so we could be done by 5 and have the rope climb workout preset. But it ended up really working because it sped everybody up. Like, just imagine if you guys would have rolled your bars forward down the whole floor and transitioned on and off. I mean, so many people would have been capped on the run, and it would have been kind of it would have been very questionable from a scoring standpoint. Like, you have all these people that got 2 out of the 3 laps on round 3 in the earlier heats, but they're all tying, which is not really what you want, so.
Yeah. For the people who got capped on the 2-part second workout, it's like you're like into like the double unders and you lost like 20 reps there.
Sure.
Like probably like those people weren't in contention for the leaderboard or like podium anyway. So, but like that's the sort of thing that it can get kind of weird where it's like, you end a workout with legless rope climb reps or like a run 200 meters equals 1 rep versus like a drag rope double under.
Oh yeah.
And I guess that's maybe one of the arguments against it.
Well, sure. And a lot of people, you also have the argument juxtaposed to that thinking of, hey, if you're not fit enough to finish the run on round 5, then you shouldn't be able to separate by 1 burpee, 2 burpees, 3 burpees. So it's like if you're not able to get off the bike on round 4, then should you really be mad about not being able to get 3 or 4 double unders in 2 seconds? It's a little bit, there's a lot of the workouts, and I tried to explain this early on, there were levels to every workout. Like, there were levels of fitness involved to almost every workout. Like, for instance, workout 4. At the bare minimum, you could either do the thing or you couldn't. So you could either do the strict deficit or you just couldn't. And then after that, maybe you could only do 2 rounds of it. Then you start to get to failure. And then after that, maybe you can do all the reps, but can you do them all in 8 minutes? And then after that, you could do all the reps, but can you push the sled too? Like, so there are definitely levels to the fitness in that workout, where to me, it still served as the second strength test. Like, I'm interested to hear your opinion on that as a competitor, but the way I try to describe the competition, a strict, deep deficit handstand push-up is an issue of strength. It's not an issue of skill, and it's not an issue of anything aerobic. It's either you can do it or you can't. And unfortunately, the movement doesn't get much love in competitions anymore. I mean, it was programmed, in 2015, and then Rogue did it twice on parallettes at their in-person competition. But really, to me, like, it's not really any different than a heavy bench press. Like, yeah, some people are good at that and not good at the overhead pressing, but that workout, like, the sled wasn't easy. It wasn't a throwaway. And a lot of people moved it well, and a lot of people did not move it well. And sure, it just affected the handstand push-up, but I'm interested in your opinion. Do you see that as almost a second strength test in the competition, or did you still see it as like grunt work? No, my legs were burning before the bike.
Well, considering a lot of people are staring at the wall, I think you could probably say it as this, gymnastic strength test.
Right.
But I guess like most strength tests, like once you're above the level that you need, it then becomes capacity. So like in practice, I don't have a flip sled, so I was doing like just a drag sled, and I kind of had my arms like this, like trying to simulate like my shoulders are probably gonna be a little tired from it. But I was like very limited by the strict handstand push-up in practice. And when I was out there, I was just like taking my time with my breaks, not because my handstand push was retired, but because I didn't want to go back to the sled. Like the sled was felt like the workout to me. Cool. And I wouldn't say I'm like elite at strict handstand push-ups, but like for me, it didn't seem like that was the thing that was necessarily slowing me down.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear how many people said, dude, the sled was like, it was hard. Like it wasn't too easy.
Oh, it was very hard. It was way harder than expected.
I did a ton of, like, since last year, I was like, there's this thing you can do with the flip sled. It's called a lineman push. And I really want to do it for a competition, but I just don't know how I would do it. And I don't really know, like, what I would do it with. And you remember the old games workout with the rope climb and the dummy push? It was like it was on the soccer field, and they basically drove like a tackle.
The dummy drag?
No, not the battlegrounds like actual mannequin dummy. No, this was like a tackling dummy that they drove. This was early, like 2010, 2011.
Okay.
And it was like,
yeah, I don't actually recall that one.
Push it down, climb the rope, push it back, whatever. It was really simple, but I was like, this feels way different than just pushing a sled, because not only are you pushing it, if you stop pushing it, it just falls. Like it's a little bit different trying to keep yourself upright and then also like driving it forward. It is a different feel. And I just knew a lot of people, unless they came into town early, weren't going to get a chance to mess with it. And I really, especially athletes at your level, where it's like games to fringe, even fringe semis at the very bottom. Like, doing burpees over a yoke isn't a weird thing. A ton of people have done burpee get-overs, but you've probably never used a yoke for it, maybe. Everyone pushes a sled, but you probably haven't pushed it in that way. Everybody has climbed ropes, but maybe you've just never climbed a thick one. So I like to put some kind of adaptation in the competitions that doesn't steal the show and take away from everything. Like if it was regular strict handstand push-ups, it's like, well, why are we even doing them? We should just be pushing. We should just push the sled 100 yards for time and see who wins, And what was really, really cool in that rope climb workout is that, dude, the weightlifting mattered a lot. Like I think unless you just couldn't do the legless, which is more so on the female side, some people just got really, really slowed down. That was like a fitness test / who has the overhead stability at the end. Like I thought that was awesome, and I was not expecting that. I was expecting that workout to be a little bit more of a gymnastics grip limitation versus like changing it. Because it was kind of last minute. Originally, I just had regular bar overhead squats for both, and I was asking a couple of the people. I was like, the name Thick and Thin, like, is axle bar lame? Like, is that cheesy or is that cool? And everyone's like, dude, that's so cool. You need to do it. And I was like, well, I don't know. Like, is it just going to be a hand size thing for the females? Like, if you have little hands, you can't even do it. They're like, no, dude, they can learn how to do the strongman, like mixed grip, put it on your belt, get it overhead. Like, people can figure that out in 2 weeks. And I'm so happy that they pushed me to do that, because that ended up creating a lot of drama. Like, I don't know if you watch the women, but seeing Lydia kind of implode at the end and not be able to finish the workout, and everyone thought, is she going to drop from the podium? And like Emma Harvang did it in like 3:21, which is insane, like insanely fast. And like Matthias did it insanely fast in heat. I guess that was a heat before yours, right?
Yeah, 5, I think.
Yeah, I mean that. Some of the performances that people were able to put out on that with that kind of funky implement with the thick rope and the thick bar, I was really happy with. That was cool. So,
yeah. I was talking to Joe Piero, and one of the things that he said, which I agreed with, was that like the axle bar almost felt easier to overhead squat once you got it up there. It was like very comfortable once it was up there. I don't know if like the wider hand position is just a little bit more comfortable position to press with. Or like the fact that it doesn't like spin, like it doesn't have like bearings or anything. So I don't know if like you're fighting that normally if you're overhead squatting. I don't know exactly, but for whatever reason, once you got it in the right position, it felt pretty smooth.
I think kind of like a short bar in general, unless your overhead position isn't good and you have to go really wide, typically a narrower grip with the weight closer to you definitely feels better. So
yeah, and I guess maybe part of it too was that like the outside of your hand, it's like if I was Brett Fikowski and my wingspan was that big and you go up against the collars for your snatches. Same sort of idea where you're kind of, you're getting that, your hands all the way up against the collar at that point.
Yeah, I probably should ask Brent and Pat, because Pat's arms are so long. Like, hey, if this workout came out for $300,000, would you guys be saying, we use short bars, but it's usually for cycling, right? Like light power snatches or even light overhead squats, clean and jerk, whatever. But at a certain load, does it really kind of like hinder the tall, long-armed athlete? Because the C70Ss that you guys used, were standard collars. So it's like a standard shaft, not collars. So it's like, hey, with that overhead squat, you guys get as much real estate as you want. If you want to go collar to collar, it's just like a normal barbell. But then it's extremely different with the axle. So I don't know, too, though. Like the best in the world, I mean, they can usually just adapt and go more narrow, right, if they have to.
That's what I was going to say. Like, for both those guys, it wouldn't be an issue to be in a narrower overhead squat grip.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think it would just be one of those things. It's like if the bars are 96 and the rings are 96, and that usually catches people by surprise when they come here and they're like, "Why are they so high?" I'm like, "Well, like Colton can grab a riser, but like Frank can't like dig a hole. Like if Frank can't kip, he can't kip. Like, don't you think it'd be better to just add another riser for somebody? It would be like if we did 96-inch burpee pull-ups, and it's like,
yes,
I mean, Colton wouldn't complain about it. He would just jump higher. He would figure it out.
Yeah.
But a lot of the tall guys would be like, nice. I don't have to really jump, So I don't know. That's
I mean, it's no different than like, like if you do like burpees over, like you guys did them over a crash pad the other year or something like that. Maybe that's not the best example. Like even like just burpees over a bar or over a dumbbell, maybe. Like Colton's just going to obviously have an advantage over somebody like when you have it over a yoke that's 40 inches or something.
Right.
There's variations in the movement that favor somebody. But
what?
I mean, not that you certainly think about that though.
What event did you enjoy doing the most, and was it the same event that going into it you thought you would enjoy doing the most? Like, were you looking forward to one that when you did it you were actually like, yeah, that wasn't that fun, or were you not looking forward to one that you were like, no, that was a lot more fun than I thought it was?
The handstand push-up one was way harder than I thought. Like I wasn't ready to be in that much metabolic distress that early in the workout. And then that obviously impacted the next one, which I think for me, like I could be calculated enough where I was like, I kind of told myself beforehand, like watching the other people, I was like, that looks like they're really struggling with it. I was like, just don't go above that like 90 to 95% effort, because you're just going to be destroyed for the next part, and it's not worth the potential payout to just be really that blunted for the second part. And I'm very glad I did that because even still, like my paces on the bike erg were like 400 to 500 calories an hour less than in practice, just because my legs were so much more tired. And yeah, thankfully that one, it's like there was some separation, but it's not like you're gonna fail a bike erg calorie. So it didn't matter as much. So that one was way harder than I expected. I would say 6 Mad Moon, the run, burpee, get over, deadlift was more enjoyable. And I think part of that is just the fact of like how it ended up. Like,
I was gonna say,
ended up placing pretty well.
Yeah, part of it was
passing Taylor at the very end, which is like it's fun to end an event like that versus like one where I fail ring muscle up rep and like every single snatch is super sketchy as a result. Right. But that one was also way more. Again, part of it just because I spilled over a bit, but either way, it would have messed me up pretty good.
Well,
like,
and you look at it and you're like, I got an 8th. But I kind of blew up. You look
man,
at
I would have been 4th if I just would have
like
held it
right.
together a bit more.
Right.
Which that kind of stings a bit, but that's life of the competition. Like if you're pushing yourself as hard as you can and like trying to find the line of like, you know, you want to pace things that's realistic for your ability level, but then also like as an athlete that's aspiring to be the best you can, like you have to at least consider what other people are going to do. And it's like, you need to put yourself in the position where you can at least be competitive, even if that means that you're like stretching your own boundaries a bit. And sometimes that doesn't go super well.
Yeah. On event 1 and 2, 2 things. First thing, watching people come out, you could just tell with a lot more aggression than they probably needed to was cool because it was the first event of the competition. So you could tell people had game plans going into it, and they probably didn't really stick to that because they realized that they were racing. And by round 2, they were like, all these people are starting 10 or 15 seconds ahead of me. I have to do something about it. When really that's just kind of the bait of the format is to just do that.
Yes.
To where you feel like you need to hurry up when really, and you saw people do it, like Carolyn Prevost, she went unbroken for 2 sets of 10. And I looked over at John and Bill, and I was like, dude, is she about to go 3 sets of 10 unbroken on this? And then on just round 3 was just completely different. Like it, so you didn't really know what was going to happen. And then the second thing was the first day was programmed so that it would be a little bit more about discipline than it would be about racing. Because, I mean, you saw people at every level on the handstand walk workout just not think of it as, hey, it only matters in round 5 and 6. And they were just cruising in 3, and then in 4 it started to get hard, and then in 5 and 6 you were just taking long breaks. You were looking around. People were kicking up. You weren't kicking up. And it was kind of like round 3 on event 1, where it was just like all this work that I did, and now I have to just kind of stand here and take my medicine, which is cool. And again, you need that separation. Looking back on it, though, you asked me about things that bothered me. If I had a redo, I would have written that workout as just 40 feet. It would have not had to be unbroken because I think that took away a little bit of the fitness and the gamesmanship of the workout. Like, is someone going to try to go 10s with quick breaks? Is someone going to try to go 20s? Is someone going to try to go unbroken? Like at the tip of the leaderboard, they all probably would have still gone unbroken. But I think it would have been a little bit more interesting to watch for some of the middle and lower finishers if I would have just said, yeah, just do it. It doesn't have to be unbroken, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. If nothing else, like it would bait you out even more to go out a little hot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because you're gonna, you know, worst comes to worst, you can do lengths of 10 feet, and if you fail, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that. I like the idea of punishing people for like a drop on a wall ball or maybe a trip up on a jump rope, but it needs to be done well, or else it's a little bit like this is just execution. It's not really fitness based. So I don't know. I mean, what I thought was really cool is that the masters and the individuals, like I only saw 1 or 2 people in the whole competition fail a handstand walk. Yeah. Which is pretty crazy.
That's pretty amazing.
For 480 feet is nuts. So if anything, it kind of showed people that, hey, like you can program where the handstand walk matters, and it doesn't have to be. I mean, years past, it's always been obstacle. I mean, I've done obstacle the last 3 straight years, and that was one of the things going into this year. I was like, yeah, I want to do a handstand walk volume workout, but I want it to be a little bit more fitness and not as much execution. So I'm really glad that I didn't use the obstacles this year, but then at the same time, I was really blown away because I thought more people would mess up, and they didn't. So I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think it shows you like the average, like maybe like the bottom third Like those people, especially, like now it's just like kind of a gimme to do handstand walks, even at the masters level, which is pretty cool.
Why do you think still there's such a disparagement with the females on the have or the have-nots with like that shoulder and tricep stamina? Just years and years of lifting weights for guys, they just tend to be able to last longer, because the difference in Olivia and I mean people that are still really really fit, like almost getting time caps, so like a 5-minute difference on a workout like that, you didn't see that on the guy side. It wasn't that drastic. Do you think it's just because it's just upper body push and pull, there's just still a huge like range on the female side?
I mean, I do think there's maybe more of a range. But like I think oftentimes women are better with straight arm, like the support position.
That's what it seems like, yeah, which is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, but with the ski, I think maybe it's more ski power. Like that was what that event came down. Like if it was, I told my wife this, I was like, if it was, GHD, handstand walk, ring muscle up, handstand walk, it would be a very different workout, just because like then the little guys are going to do way better. But with that format, it was, you obviously couldn't ski harder than what you were, your muscular endurance was going to allow for, but you could really kind of push it. Where I think, there's just some of the women who would typically be better at handstand walks are probably just a little bit not as good on the erg power side of things. And that's where like it's rare to have maybe that combination of the two, which is probably maybe a little bit less rare for a male to have that combination.
Yeah, I agree. It's I think it is a little bit more the combination. While I do think the med ball GHDs were harder for people than they expected them to be, with only 72 reps, the fact that you're still holding tension in your arms is what made it. Because if it would have just been like 18 regular GHDs, it still would have been an easier workout for sure. Because the arms at least would have gotten like 30 seconds to just chill before kicking back up again. And I think that the combination was more so the issue, like you were saying. Some of the coaches try to just push back and just say, no, I just think it's like if it's over 7 or 8 minutes, you're just going to have girls that blow up more so than you're going to have guys that blow up. It's just so much time inverted. But I kind of agree with you that it seems like the straight arm.
I don't agree with that. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, there's arguably probably there's women who have better muscular endurance than a lot of the guys. And maybe part of that's just like there's more female gymnasts who are coming out of, a background that allows them to have really good overhead positions, but maybe that's also just due to things like muscle mass, like they're just a little bit better overhead positioning wise than some of the males. So on the broadcast, in Purgatory, I was doing my last 20 reps, and John Young says, JR is rolling in his grave over there watching these thrusters. And then Jason Hopper says, I think those are good. Were you rolling in your grave?
I do not recall watching you do your last 20 thrusters. So maybe I was just like staring into space and John thought I was just staring right at you or something. I don't know. I was probably thinking about something that didn't matter at all. Like, hey, are the judges that are about to judge on the turf ready to go? That's probably what I was thinking about, because you were in one of the last couple. You were in the last heat or the last for Purgatory? Were you last heat?
No,
or
that was
the last heat. Because you came out from day one hot.
Yeah.
You had to have been first or second or fifth or sixth heat.
I was second.
So I was probably thinking to myself. I was probably thinking to myself, okay, he's about to finish this. We got like 3 extra minutes of transition. Are we going to be able to start exactly on time? Like I am the biggest, like being on time is like probably my highest priority of the whole competition. And it probably doesn't need to be, but I know how nice it is for you guys to be like, if I'm corralled at 11:27, I'm corralled at 11:27. Like that's huge.
Yeah. That's honestly, it's one of the things that you stress about at other competitions is like, do I need to be warmed up a little bit ahead of time and then just do like a, a few extra reps of whatever move to stay warm until I get corralled, because I don't know if I'm going to get pulled in early or late or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, and
it was very nice to not have to worry about that.
I hate but that's every competition. Everyone runs behind. I don't like that. Like, no, it doesn't need to be that way. Like, it may be how other people operate, but it's not how we're going to, and there's really no excuse. If we only have 100 competitors, like, it should be smooth unless, like, the power goes out or someone gets hurt or a machine breaks. I mean, and then that stuff happens too, but 5 minutes is one thing, but like an hour, which I hear about at other competitions, they're an hour behind. Like, that's not, I don't know how you can do that. If Jason, though, said, I think those are good, they were good. Because Jason is a stickler, and he's super mobile for a big guy. So, like, if they were, if they were questionable, he would have definitely said it.
So, what I think what they were getting at was that, like, my hands were basically on top of the worm versus like supporting it underneath,
like doing kind of,
because I was doing like singles,
doing like what Chris was doing, kind of. This thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, if it comes off,
this is how I can do them, and I'm getting good reps. So
if it comes off your body, it comes off your body. And this is, I mean, for event 3, this was probably the one thing. Either I should have thought of a easier to execute standard, or I should have just put a chunk of 100 squats in the middle and just let it be squats and not thrusters. Because I think if the chunk was big enough, the whole speed part of it, of like people flashing the hips at the top and not reaching extension, probably would have been eliminated. I really liked the thruster, though, because it keeps your heart rate higher, and you have to kind of squat faster that way, unless you're just going to stop.
It's way more taxing on the legs, because
sure,
you have to drive it off your body, versus when you can squat it the last, the top quarter of that squat, you're slowing down.
Sure. Yeah, I just get bothered by little things like that. And while only your individual judge can see is there air between the pill and your shoulder or your back, like, literally they're the only ones that can see. If you're standing in front, if you're standing to the side, if you're standing behind, if you're watching the stream, you're gonna watch people do it and be like, well, none of them are letting the pill come off of their body. But, like, you all probably were. It just looked like you weren't, because of, like, you guys are good at figuring out how to do it the most efficiently. Like, I knew people would, and I'm a huge proponent of the less standards, the better. Like, if you try to get too cute with it, like, let's put a piece of tape in the middle of the worm, and this side of the tape has to be in front of your body the whole time. Like, things like that are just, you're just asking for it. You know what I mean? So it was fine. I'm overly critical, though. So I do think about, and could it have made it a little bit longer? Like, dude, Colton doing that workout that fast, and even Brittany and Carolyn Prevost, like, they were just over 10. Like, when I wrote the workout, I knew, and it was very cool too for the spread of scores. Like, there were people going up all the way to the 18-minute cap, and there are people doing it that fast. That's pretty cool at a competition where people are really, really high level. To have that much spread is what you want with P-score. But I think if I would have done like 50-meter lunge, so 5 lunges, 50 chest to bar, 100 squats, 50 chest to bar, 5 lunges, I think it would have made it a few minutes longer for even the fastest people. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, hindsight, of course, but those are the things I think about, though. Little things, like there's probably one part of every single event that I look back on and I'm like, like the transition for the rope bike workout was good for the stream, but did that walk to and from the rope and the bike kind of let there be a little bit more reprieve? Probably so, like, I don't know, little things like that. 4 and 5, though, I was really happy with. 6, I liked, other than the possibility of people getting capped on the run. I think using air runners would have been the best case scenario, but at like your level, it wasn't something you had to worry about. I thought the burpees over the yoke was great. I thought letting people do it however they want was the right way to go. While I would like to see everyone be athletic and actually like jump like they're jumping over a fence, I knew some people would be tall enough to just kind of step over it, especially the females. I thought the load was good almost everyone I talked to, especially the females, said that because it was a men's short bar and because the bumpers were the dead stop bumpers, it felt more like 265, 275 and not 245. Did you think it felt the same as a 365 deadlift normally does?
Yeah, I mean, if it's like a qualifier I'm preparing, or yeah, I'm gonna do it, I'll like put like the bouncy bumpers on the very end,
Sure.
because that's what's gonna hit the ground first. But like, yeah, when I'm preparing for something like this, like I'll use the high temp bumpers that don't bounce. I don't really feel like I get any like bar bend. We have Ohio bars here, and I don't think there's really they don't really have any whip to them. Even
I
at
don't think so either.
365.
That's the ones we use here at the affiliate, the ones you guys had in the warm up area. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't hear many of the guys coming off saying, "Oh, that felt like 385," but I heard a lot of the females coming off saying that felt like 265. And I think just because it was a thicker bar probably made a big difference for them, which was nice
That'd be my
because
guess.
on paper, 245 definitely is light compared to 265 to 365. So that was good. And then for
Do you
the
think
last
that was more of a
workout-
strength test than the last one?
That's a good question because I told you early on I thought that the weightlifting mattering a lot in the last workout was not something I expected because I know John especially and a lot of people are like, well, Crash is always limited by gymnastics for the women. But like I can look back at the workouts and pick 4 of them where the weightlifting played a major role, like easily 4 of them. For the women,
Yeah, I would not say it was like skewed towards gymnastics.
For the women, I feel like the weightlifting may have been more relevant in the finale than in the workout 6. I think the run and the burpees just pummeled people, more so the females, where you had females that were really strong on the deadlift, but they couldn't use that strength because they didn't have the fitness to do it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They couldn't run hard enough and they couldn't burpee fast enough.
Yeah. I want to go into your backstory just a little bit because I haven't heard much of your story. How long has Crash been around? The gym.
So my wife and I took over payments essentially for the rent in the previous location in 2015. And at that time we were not affiliated. It was called Black Sheep Training Center. And the couple who owned it were going through a separation. And they said, hey, listen, we're going to either sell everything and tell the landlord, yeah, find a new tenant, or we know that you really want to own a gym one day. You and your wife can take it over. And we were about to get married. We were moving. And my wife was starting pharmacy school all in like the same 2-month period. So, of course, perfect timing. But she knew that it was kind of like my career goal. And I was a full-time nurse at the time. I was doing home health nursing and then like coaching classes. So 2015, we took it over, renamed it. We were in that location until 2020. And then right around COVID, we opened up the facility that we're in now. It was a forklift repair shop. It required a ton of renovation and a lot of work. Still does. It's like one of those just old buildings you have to continuously fix up. So we've been here since 2020. Yep.
Oh, so you're a nurse.
Yeah. I mean, I keep my license active, but I haven't practiced since 2021.
Yeah.
When
did you realize you didn't want to do that anymore?
When I got into the gym full time, it's gonna sound bad, but I'm sure you'll be able to understand. I was going into people's homes. A lot of the patients that I saw were like recovering from surgeries, or we're trying to get back from acute conditions. But the majority of the patients I saw, I was seeing for chronic illness. So I was seeing for diabetes, high blood pressure, heart failure, recurrent pressure ulcers, debility, falls, all that kind of stuff. So there was a huge disconnection and a huge loss of gratification that came from me seeing a lot of these patients that didn't want to help themselves. I was seeing a lot of patients and I was trying to get them better, but really they didn't care. So like I would go and talk to a guy about checking his blood sugar, and he'd be like, if they take another toe, they take another toe. You know, it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, well, what am I doing? Like I'm just going and just like, I'm just going and getting signatures and charting for a paycheck. And there's really not any, like, I walk out of that house and actually did something for someone. And I really enjoy helping people. But I knew that, you know, halfway through the day, I'd go back and coach a class and got a lot of fulfillment from that hour. And then I'd go back and see more patients. And there were a lot of patients that I saw that made huge strides and really got their lives back. And that was awesome, but that was few and far between. So I think just the idea of walking into somewhere every day, and I mean, you understand it as a gym owner, working with people that want to get better at something is what everyone wants. That's in a, like, hey, I work with people. Like, this stuff is too hard for you to come and do it every day if you don't want to, or if you don't want to use it to get better at the thing or to get better at something else in life. So I think when I came and opened this location up, I actually got laid off from my home health job, and it was like the biggest blessing in disguise. I was like losing it. My wife was like, listen, they're going to pay you for 6 months to just get the gym ready and open it up. And then at that point, you just need to run the gym full time. So the kids have grown up here in the gym. Like one of my little girls is in first grade now, but all the way until like 4, no daycare. So unless my mom or my wife's mom was like helping out, they just came to the gym with me, and they're just with me all day in the gym. And I have a 3-year-old, same thing with her. So like being able to like raise them in the gym around adults. I mean, it's done so much. Like teaching them just how to be around adults has been really cool. But then also too, just their normal day is just running into the gym and seeing people work out and jumping on the rings. And it's just, I don't know. I never would have expected what opening the gym would do, like especially for my kids. But I'm really grateful that it has, because I like to whine and complain a lot that like I have to take my kids to work all the time. But at the end of the day, I think them being able to do that and not just being in a daycare is hopefully going to make a huge difference moving forward as they grow up.
Yeah. I mean, that was not something that I thought about when I, opened a gym, but it's really cool to see, like, yeah, their relationship with the gym and the other people at the gym, and just how like everything is. It's like when you grow up in something, you don't know any different, in like the best way. It's like they're surrounded by people who are trying to be at their best, and taking ownership of their health, and trying to accomplish cool things, and to grow up in that without even knowing that that's a pretty cool opportunity.
Yeah, like you said, they just think it's normal. They think watching people work hard is normal. They think watching moms and dads with kids is normal. They think that playing loud music is normal. They think that it's just whatever you see. And then what's really cool though too, and also kind of scary, it makes me wonder what they say in school. But when they see maybe people who they know don't look healthy, or when they see people do things that they know they're not used to seeing, they're like, why do they do that? Why are they? It's like, yeah, well, what you see every day in the gym is not how most people live. Like, and my 6-year-old's old enough to where she can understand stuff like that now, so which is also cool. And I'm sure she's gonna get questions from teachers and from like classmates and stuff, and she'll just be like, well, why don't you work out? Like, they'd have more energy if they worked out. Like, she'll start to say things that I'm sure she hears me say to her, so
that's cool. But they also don't just hear it from you then. It's like they're also seeing other people do it, which sure. I think is helpful. It's not just getting like crammed down their throat. It's also just something that they just see all the time, so they know it's true.
Right. Yeah. What about you? How long have you owned your affiliate?
Just over 2 years, so relatively recently. Yeah.
And where is it exactly?
Williamsport, Pennsylvania, so like Central PA, North Central.
Okay. The Laura, short hair, not Ashley, the one that did the corral briefings, but Laura, the one that was at the table to check you guys in all the time. She's she's on top of it. She and her husband are from PA, and they're actually the people who helped me put the down payment on this gym for the bank. And we actually bought our home from them. They're good friends of ours, and they haven't been able to come the past few years for Crucible, but yeah, they're from PA. So whenever I hear of someone else from there, I wish I would have known that early on. I could have linked you guys up. It seems like whenever someone comes from PA, they like live within an hour of where they live, so it's cool. Yeah.
A lot of woods, Penn's Woods. Yeah.
You said Waynesville?
Williamsport.
Waynesport. Okay, gotcha. I'm gonna text them, let them know.
Yeah, it's the home of the Little League World Series is what everybody knows Williamsport for.
Gotcha. Okay. And is the gym full-time? Your full-time thing?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, there's a little bit of overlap when I had a job. I was originally a teacher, and then was like, yeah, I can't do this for a career. And my wife got a job up here because she grew up around here, so we ended up moving back. And yeah, I got a job at a local healthcare company for a little bit, and it was just like, paying the bills, and that definitely allowed me to start with this, though. I know I've been doing some of the online stuff, online coaching, and was at an affiliate and doing some other stuff, but yeah, it was nice to jump in with both feet at that point.
Yeah. How old are you?
31.
Okay. You've been like pursuing it competitively for how long?
Like 2017 was my first open.
Okay. I got you. So not forever, but you're seasoned too. You got. I was watching you compete. I could just tell that you knew how to work out, and what I mean by that is I see a lot of people who are really fit that have no clue how to work out. Like there's a huge difference. It's like the young guys in my gym, and you probably have them too, that are like they're good, but when it comes to like maximizing a score or a time, they just have no clue how to really do it. And guys who are just more experienced are like, okay, well, I'll just do 5s on the toaster bar and I'll still beat him by a full round because he's going to just start resting too much. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of thing. It's like,
for sure.
Yeah. And you can usually tell the gym owners usually have that because it's like what you have to teach people all the time. Like, hey, instead of trying to go unbroken and then chalking for 30 seconds, why don't you like do 3 sets and only rest for 15 seconds?
Yeah. Yeah. Also is like, there's being a coach, if you are analyzing what people are doing and trying to help them improve, like it's just between maximizing movement efficiency and then like pacing. It's like you can't think any other way.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. Like, not that I want this to be about me, but like I've only really traveled to compete the last like 2 years. So it's only local stuff up until that point. So it's like, repeatedly trying to make a regional or something, and then like, doing a local comp some other time. So it was like competing, but like not really, when you're not actually going against people who are any good, it doesn't really, it doesn't actually open up. It show you like really dramatically like where your holes are that like you actually need to fill and patch up.
Do you, is there anyone locally that you can do like the open quarterfinals? I mean, the rumors are that outside of some in-person competitions that are going to qualify for the games, that everyone's getting to the games via online this year. So I'm curious, all the guys like you, do you have people around? Like Taylor versus the World, I think, was a kind of a nuanced thing, but now I think people are realizing that, hey, if they go online, like I need to create an atmosphere like that for myself to give myself a chance, because if I don't have people to race and I'm just relying on being able to push myself, it's almost like unless you're the elite of the elite, it's tough to do.
Yeah, unless you're someone who's just like your fitness level will get you through either way.
Yeah.
Then obviously your environment makes a big difference. But that's no different than like the open. Like it doesn't really matter if the environment's great, but it always is. Like, yeah, just because you'll make it through either way, and it doesn't really matter. So no, I don't really have someone in that regard. Which has like honestly been like one of the most challenging things throughout my career. Is like, you know, we're happy where we're at, but you know, if you don't have the environment you want, you got to create it. So that's one of the reasons why our gym exists.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm while I don't really think the investigation results are ever going to come out, people are waiting on them to come out, and I don't think they ever will. I do think that CrossFit will and kind of has to say something about next season pretty soon. I think that like affiliate owners like us.
Yeah, people are getting antsy.
And yeah, I mean, we just need to know something. Like everyone's asking me when Crescendo is going to be. I'm like, I don't know, because I always schedule it based on when the teams have to compete in person or online. Like it's always a little bit before semis and a little bit after quarters. So is there even going to be a quarters? Are they even doing teams? Like all those questions I don't even have the answers to. I think everyone kind of wants to know what the process is going to be like. I feel like they have to do it pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean they have to come out with something.
Or at least just say, hey, the open is going to be this week. Like even that would be enough to keep people, you know, engaged until the next announcement or whatever. Just tell us when the open's going to be.
For sure.
Because I think for affiliates especially, if you don't have the open, it all kind of dies. So I don't think they're going to they're going to get rid of the open. So just tell us when that's going to be, and then we can kind of plan on that. Is it going to be 3 weeks or 5? Like if they're going to use it as a qualifier to semifinals or to the games, I think we might be going back to 5. Which I'm not really looking forward to, but I think that's probably what's going to happen.
Hopefully they lunge and has some other stuff in there besides just phone booth fitness.
Yeah,
if they qualify straight through.
If they're going to use it as a real qualifier and not just 25%, they need to make you do some other things for sure. Last year was for what they wanted it to be, probably the best they could program. Right, pretty low barrier of entry. Pretty reasonable for affiliates to get through, but also too, you know, looking at the leaderboard, you're like, well, it's not really a complete fitness test. So,
yeah. I heard that you already have 2025 programmed. Is that true?
I would say it's 80% done. Yeah, I really like to. I feel like I just think about it all the time. Programming in some aspect, whether it's the gym programming for the following week, whether it's a competition that's coming up, whether it's a competition I just reviewed, or like one that's coming up like Rogue, and I'm thinking about what they might do. I feel like I'm thinking about it constantly, but I don't think there's a better time, like creatively, for me to get the most out of kind of like the juices flowing than there is like the month before Crucible and the month after. So that like 2 to 3 month period is like, okay, I did this year. I need to make sure I do this next year. Okay, I did this year, but I didn't do it really the way I wanted to, so I'm going to do it this way next year. I think it's really it keeps it keeps me from just like changing my mind in 6 months when I know how I feel right after this year, and I know what didn't really get tested and what I want to test. And this is the time where it's like legit. It's not like in 6 months I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know. I'll talk myself out of it. I'm like, no, now is the time. And really, dude, I mean, as pathetic as it may sound, like it's really, really, really important to me to get it right. And sometimes it takes 8 or 10 months of just like little tweaks and setting it up out here on a random like Saturday when the gym's empty, or like, I mean, it's not just like throw it together and then, okay, it's done 2 months before. I mean, I hear about these competitions where they're supposed to release them and they're not even done with the programming. Like they're changing it all the way up to 2 weeks before. Like when you guys have them 2 weeks before, they've been like 99% done for months, but like outside of a time cap or something. Because I want to make sure that when I send them to you guys, like I'm not going to come back and change it. Like that's a huge pet peeve for me. Is like I send the workouts or I release the workouts, and outside of a typo, like I think we put 8-minute cap for the last workout and it was supposed to be 6. So like outside of something little like that, like what if I told you guys it was going to be strict deficit and then everyone complained and I was like, okay, we're just going to kip. Never mind. You'd be like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this.
Thanks for listening today. If you're someone who just started listening to the show, I would encourage you to subscribe so you can stay up to date. If you're someone who's been listening for a while, I would encourage you to rate and review the show. And lastly, the best thing that you can do to support our work is also the best thing that you can do for your performance. And that is by hiring one of our coaches. Until next time, stay the course.